Hey, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about crowdfunding, and today we are getting into exactly how Kickstarter works. You've been kind of wondering how this platform works, how you can use it. We're getting into all that today, a little bit of the nitty-gritty, and really discovering how you can use this to launch new products, new creations into the world, and it's coming up right after this. So the first thing that you should know about Kickstarter, and you might be considering this for a few different reasons, but really it's one of the first crowdfunding sites that are out there. So it's not necessarily the first, right? Indiegogo actually happened before Kickstarter, but Kickstarter is actually one of the major platforms, one of the major players in this industry. And the reason why we use this is to launch new projects into the world. So that's where we're gonna have to start here, is that in order to use Kickstarter as a platform, you're gonna be launching a new project of some sort into the world. And I'm gonna get into that in just a little bit. So what do I mean by a project, right? A project has some kind of a start and an end date. You're trying to create something new. There's gonna be some kind of an end product. You can't just raise money for charity in the way that you would with GoFundMe or other kind of nonprofit crowdfunding sites that are out there. In addition, a project itself is gonna have different rewards. So we're gonna talk about that in just a little bit, but you need to, number one, know that you're trying to create some kind of a project that has some kind of an end deliverable that you can share with people. And that's one of the biggest cornerstones of doing a Kickstarter campaign and the way that it differs from a lot of other ones out there. Number two is that when you're doing this project, when you're creating a project, you also have to put it into one of the major Kickstarter categories that are out there. So second, we're gonna talk about project, right? And then we're gonna talk about category. Now there are a bunch of different categories. Oh my gosh, my spelling is so bad. Bunch of different categories. Who would have thought that I've written a bunch of books, right? My spelling is so bad. Categories are what you fit your project into when it comes to a Kickstarter campaign. So there's technology, right? There's film. There's a bunch of different ones I'm gonna read off here. Arts, comics, crafts, design, dance, fashion, film and video, I said, food, games, journalism, music, photography, publishing, technology, theater. There are a lot of categories when it comes to Kickstarter. And the main thing is that you need to fit your project into one of those categories. If you don't, you cannot launch a campaign. So when it comes to this, there are a bunch of different categories and subcategories on Kickstarter. The best thing you can do, honestly, is just to go and browse the Kickstarter website and check out some of the cool stuff that's there, and also support some of your other creators that are on that platform. Now, the way in which Kickstarter works is that once you have your project, once you have your category, you gotta assemble a campaign page. And we're gonna talk about sort of the reasons behind that and why that works and stuff like that. But once you have your project, the categories, there really comes the campaign page, okay? Now, we might be jumping ahead a little bit here, but I really just want to first give you like a bird's eye view. I'm much more of one of those like big picture thinkers. I like kind of seeing the entire forest before we look at the individual trees. Like I like a bird's eye view. So from a bird's eye view, you need to have some kind of a project which you're going to be launching on Kickstarter to raise money for. Number two, has to fit into a category. Number three, you're gonna have a campaign page. On that campaign page, you're gonna have different items that are kind of explaining what it is you're doing. So things like a video, things like actual text on that page, graphics, rewards, etc. This is what comprises a really good Kickstarter campaign page. And the reason behind this, and this is kind of to me the hallmark of crowdfunding, is that you're gonna be doing this for a certain duration and you're gonna be raising money. So what does that mean? That's kind of a little bit complicated, right? Let's kind of get into this right here. So first of all, you're gonna have some kind of a fundraising duration, okay? Fundraising duration is just the amount of time that this campaign is open to the public, and kind of off the screen here, that this campaign is open to the public. You're gonna have a fundraising duration. Number two, when it comes to the fundraising duration, is that you're gonna have some kind of a funding goal, okay? Now, what does that mean? What that means is that, number one, when you're putting this campaign out there on Kickstarter, it's going to be live. It's going to be live on Kickstarter for a certain amount of time, and that is the fundraising duration, okay? Duration, how much time, right? Could be 30 days, could be 25 days, could be 20 days. I've seen campaigns as short as 7 days and as long as 60 days, right? You're gonna have some kind of a fundraising duration, and there's actually a reason behind doing that. The second thing you're gonna have is a fundraising goal, okay? And when you go on Kickstarter and you're gonna go look at some of these different projects, they have many different types of funding goals. The goal here, no pun intended, is that once you hit that goal, you can actually keep the funds that have been raised on the Kickstarter platform. So let's add that here. When it comes to how Kickstarter works, the funding goal, we're gonna say, is all or nothing. It's called all or nothing fundraising. You basically as a creator, need to hit or exceed that goal in order to keep the funds that have been raised. In addition, when you hit that funding goal, it says to all the people that have supported your campaign, which we call backers, people who have backed your Kickstarter project, it actually signals to them that you're moving forward with this project and you're gonna make good on it. So if you ever had that like cool project idea and you have a bunch of the materials maybe to even make this thing, but then it's like, I just need some funding to kind of get this going, that's exactly why you would launch a Kickstarter campaign, and you would set that funding goal. And you'd be like, I'm not gonna open this for a year, right? Because then no one's gonna take action. I'm gonna have this open for a specific amount of time and for people to actually back this project. And if they back it, if I hit my goal, I'm gonna be able to keep all those funds which I have raised, and I'm moving forward with this project. So you should, by kind of at this point in the video, beginning to get a little bit of a sense of how Kickstarter works when it comes to funding goal, duration, categories, project, and what you need. Now, there's a lot more that kind of goes behind this, but one of the other quick things I want to talk about is fees, and also why do people support these campaigns? So first of all, when it comes to this, we call people who support campaigns backers, okay? And the action that they're doing is that they're backing a project. This is also known as pledging, okay? It's also known as pledging. Now, why do we call it that? A lot of different reasons, right? It kind of starts honestly with patronage. And back in the day, in order to have new artworks that come into life, we would actually have patrons of the arts, right? Who would support something. And probably why there's actually so much religious artwork that's out there, just because a lot of the patrons in the past have been, different religious organizations. So we have people that are backers. They're backing your project on Kickstarter, okay? Your project is in this particular category. Those backers are searching out different cool, interesting projects every single day, and they might stumble on yours. And there are a lot of different reasons why people back projects, which kind of go beyond the scope of today's video, right? But they are backing your project. They are pledging money. Now, once your campaign is over, let's just say it's a 30-day campaign, once it's over, all those backers, their credit cards are charged, they are locked in, and they are backers of your project. They're basically your followers, your online followers, and they're gonna be receiving updates. So we'll be talking about that in a little bit as well. So at this point in time, you should, number one, take away, there are backers out there on Kickstarter that are interested in exploring new projects, helping creators, supporting creators, and also owning products. Why are they doing this? I'm gonna share that with one answer in just a second. Number two that you should be taking away is that this is a sustained marketing activity. You're doing this thing for a certain period of time, man. You're not just keeping this over for a year where people can take action over the course of a year or not. It's a very defined, tight-knit, we call it a launch, a Kickstarter launch, where you are then live on the actual Kickstarter platform. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Leave a comment down below if I'm starting to make a little bit of sense at this point in the video, and I hope that I am, right? Okay, so let's talk about why do people back projects, right? These backers. This is kind of the secret, right? This is the key. Why do people back projects on Kickstarter? There are a lot of different reasons, but one of the big ones out there are rewards. Okay, so we're gonna talk about rewards. So these are also called perks, okay? Perks or rewards. Now, I know it, I hate it. I hate when we use big words and jargon, use vocabulary that we don't understand. And I think it's important that you understand at least some of the basic vocabulary that goes into crowdfunding. And the more that you understand vocabulary, the easier it is for you to understand any new discipline in life. I guarantee you, right? Like I'm learning how to paddleboard, and the more you can learn about kind of the paddleboard, you can learn about the paddle, you can learn about the different ways to actually do this thing, the better it's gonna go off, right? So when you ever learn a new activity like golf, for example, you're gonna start to learn more of the terminology. And the more you learn the terminology, the faster you pick up that activity and kind of the way the game is played, right? So when it comes to this, let's talk about rewards and perks. So what the heck are rewards and perks? Rewards and perks are the things that when someone backs your project, they say, yes, I want to back this project. I want this thing to exist in the world. They are going to get access to these super exclusive perks and rewards that are specifically just for them. Now, what could that be? That could be a copy of the product, right? So let's just say you're writing a new book, right? You're writing a new book, or you invented something like a new product like a wallet or something like that, right? You invented, a new carrying case or some kind for a camera, right? Whatever it is that you've created, whether that's in the technology category, could be a comic book, could be a publishing product, could be a new book, could be a theater project, could be a film, could be a dance something or other, right? Whatever it is, it could be tarot card decks, you are creating something. And those people that are backing you oftentimes want a copy of that creation. They kind of want to own this. So those perks and rewards usually are tied to the end result of the project, but not always. Sometimes we will see perks and rewards that are kind of a little bit more interesting in nature. So for example, with a film project, maybe getting a film producer's credit, right? Or being able to attend a film premiere. I recently supported an Indiegogo campaign, which is different than Kickstarter, but this creator actually did a film premiere. Now it's getting into all these major festivals, and it was great to even just get the invite to show up at this thing, right? So there are a lot of different cool perks and rewards which you can include in a Kickstarter campaign that go beyond just the product. But one thing you should take away at this point in the video is that rewards and perks are absolutely crucial in order to have a successful Kickstarter campaign. So you're kind of getting a sense a little bit, this is becoming fleshed out a little bit more of some of the variables that go into running one of these campaigns, right? And the more that you become just clear on that, the easier it's going to be for you to start to plan this out if this is something that you are interested in doing. Now, a couple more things while I still have you, we want to talk about when it comes to how Kickstarter works. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about fees, right? So fees, I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if everything was free in life, man? I would love that. But at the same time, then you have a lot of low quality stuff. When things are free, they're kind of low quality, if you know what I mean. And they're just kind of there. It's like, if you're going and you're going to go get some great food and you know that it's free, it might not be best as if you're going to an exclusive high-end sushi restaurant, right? So Kickstarter obviously charges certain fees. The way they do that is that they're not going to charge you to start a project, okay? But if you do have a successful campaign, they're going to take a percentage fee. And that's 5% at the time I'm recording this video, plus a couple of payment processing fees that go into that. And I'll kind of let you discover that on your own time. At the end of the day, that's the only fee that you have to pay in order to have this incredible working system, as well as access to a massive marketplace of people, all of these people out there that are interested in exciting, in backing projects, in supporting artists, in owning cool new stuff, right? Before anyone else does. These are really like those early adopters, if you want to call it that way, right? These are people that are interested in owning cool new stuff and also supporting creators. So the Kickstarter community is incredibly powerful. And I'm trying to put out more videos on that just to show you that, from firsthand experience, these people are incredible. So when it comes to this, they're taking a small percentage fee when it comes to if you are successful with that project. Now, at this point, we've gone through a lot of just how Kickstarter works. However, let's talk just a tiny bit about the actual ecosystem. Does that make sense? Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. When it comes to the ecosystem, I really call this a community. So we're just gonna put this over here because I didn't plan this out super well, right? I was helping some coaching students. I was like, I wanna put out a video. I haven't put out one of these videos in a while. Community. Probably can't even read that handwriting, right? Community, that's what I'm trying to say there. This is an ecosystem, this is a community. There are people out there that are regularly backing projects and they're called super backers, okay? So the Kickstarter community is incredibly powerful. And also it's really humbling the kinds of stuff that they support and that are willing to support. And that community extends not just the entire platform, but also within individual categories. And you also have the Kickstarter staff as well, who maybe you become like a projects we love. You start to trend really well in the algorithm and you start getting tons of people checking out your project, or you get news stories headed your way, right? There's so much cool stuff that comes with a Kickstarter campaign, but it is a community, which means there's almost this element of social capital to this. So the question is like, why don't I just raise a bunch of money, right? And not really even deliver on these rewards and that kind of stuff. And that does happen, unfortunately. And I'm one of the people trying to change the narrative when it comes to crowdfunding, because I think that's a great thing, right? So the community is really what ties you back to making sure that you deliver on those promises, those perks and rewards, which you are promising people when they back your Kickstarter campaign. And if you do that, you can be like one of the people I've had on my show, one of the guests on my podcast who've launched 10 different Kickstarter campaigns, who've launched 20 different Kickstarter campaigns. You can take this community with you through launches and launches and launches. And if you're an inventor in the audience, you can take this to new products that you're coming up with every single day, right? I don't know about you, but being a creative type, you always have ideas. It's just like always a percolation of ideas that are coming. It's like a river, like a fire hose almost, right? And they're all just coming out. How cool would it be to be able to have a platform, have a place where you can raise money for those ideas. That's exactly what Kickstarter is, okay? So there's a little more complicated than that. But that being said, when you have a community and you have a positive vibe, or you have good social capital with that community, you can keep going back to it, keep going back to it, keep going back to it. You can build up your tribe, build your following, and every single new launch brings in new people, gets media mentions, gets tons of attention, as well as getting funding, and people to try out the actual product which you have created. And that's kind of one of the coolest things, is like to what's called have a product in the wild, where people are trying it out. They're giving you feedback. Maybe one day you go to a coffee shop and you see someone using your product, or you see someone reading your book, right? Or you even see someone watching your film. It's one of the most cool feelings as a creator to have other people interact with your work. Okay, so 2 last quick things while I got your attention right now. Number 1 is updates, right? So this is kind of like a process, if you want to think of it that way. Updates, it says updates, if in case you're wondering about that. It says updates. Updates are things that you do throughout the course of this project. So I wouldn't look this as one event. You know, I talk about a launch and having a mega Kickstarter launch, right? And that's kind of what I specialize in. When it comes to a launch, it's not just a singular event. This is staggered out over time, okay? So you might be doing things like posting updates, almost kind of like a blog when it comes to your Kickstarter campaign, telling people what is the status of the products, right? New news announcements that come. Hey guys, we just hit this 100K goal. How insane is that, right? So you're gonna be kind of walking people through this story, which ends up being your actual Kickstarter story. And you have these things that are called updates. The second thing is that after your campaign has finished, you're gonna be kind of educating people as you come together with this project. So just giving them news updates, keeping them up to date, that kind of stuff. So one of the most common questions I get is, okay, Sal, I get it. So this is kind of how Kickstarter works. I can get funding for creative projects. I can get funding for new products that I'm coming with, prototypes, games, board games, right? All that kind of stuff. We just had a recent creator that did millions of dollars with their novel that they wrote. And I covered that on this channel. It probably has come out at this point in time. So there are literally projects being funded every single day. If you actually go to the Kickstarter stats section, you can see that. So there's an abundance of opportunity when it comes to this. And today, this day and age, it is the easiest time ever to raise money for a new project, for a new product, to get something up off the ground. And more often than not, people do graduate from Kickstarter. And it's one of the coolest things as a coach for me to witness is some of my students when they graduate from Kickstarter and they start their own Shopify store, or they start their own Amazon store, or their own e-commerce store. They build up their business in some way, or they sell their product to other people, or they get distributors, right? This is a great opportunity because not only do you check off a lot of these boxes, but in addition, you kind of get a little bit of validation and feedback. So that being said, this encompasses a lot of things in terms of how Kickstarter works. I invite you to go and check out some of my other videos out there. I also got a book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, which I'm going to link up down below. This book walks you through every single aspect, the step-by-step process of launching a new Kickstarter campaign. If this is something that's interesting to you, if you're kind of like, maybe I could use this in order to fund a new product that I have a new project, go and check out and grab a copy of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. And I think it's also free if you get a free 30-day trial of Audible. I believe it comes with it. So I'll be sure to include that link down below if you want an Audible copy or if you want a paperback version of the Kickstarter Launch Formula. But that being said, one of the coolest things about this, man, is that you are putting a stake in the ground. If this is something that you're serious about, if this is something that you're just kind of excited about making progress on this, you can finally launch something in a confined period of time, and it's almost like a business bootcamp in some ways. My name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you so much for joining me on this YouTube video, and I will see you next time.